So I shot this video once, then I shot it again. This is number 3. Howdy folks, welcome to the channel. Thank you for taking the time to click on the video, and I sure do appreciate that. And as always, it would be great if you would take the time to like and share and comment, all that good stuff. But most importantly, please, by all means, do click that button down there and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, go ahead and ring the bell so you get notifications for upcoming videos. So yes, I am now on my 3rd time reshooting this entire video. And there's a few reasons for that, and I'm going to get into it. But before I do want to talk about one little thing that's coming up. If you watch the Scar My Guitar channel, Sean, just recently on one of his live streams, he happened to mention that he and I are working on a collaboration coming up here. Now, I'm not going to give a whole lot of details about it. There'll be more to come on that. Just going to be a little cryptic. So let's go ahead and talk about the Harley Benton SC 450 Plus Vintage. I've had such a hard time shooting this video, and there are a couple of reasons for it. The first one being that my original concept, since it is a Les Paul style guitar, I thought I would pull out my Gibson and just basically do a side-by-side comparison. And that's just simply not fair. It's in every way, shape, or form, save maybe one, it's just not a comparison. You cannot compare a sub $200 guitar with a over $2,000 guitar. And I know Gibson gets a lot of knocks and everything, but it's just true. The Gibson is a superior guitar in every way, and it's not fair at all to compare the Harley Benton to it. So I scrapped that idea. Now, like I said, there is one area where Harley Benton may have Gibson beat, and I'll get into that. And then the other reason I had such a hard time is because, unlike the first two Harley Bentons that I have reviewed, the acoustic and then the CST 24. I get confused on the names, but just go back and look at the video. Unlike those, there were a few more problems with this guitar, and it was it was something that I had to go around my original idea, which was to review these guitars as they came out of the box without doing any work whatsoever. Ultimately, there was two things that I had to do to this guitar before I could really do a whole lot with it. So we will get into that, and well, I guess we'll get into that right now. So let's go. So here it is, the Harley Benton SC 450 Plus CB Vintage. It is the vintage, I guess, version of the 450 Plus. And it's a pretty guitar. I think we can all agree. The CB, of course, standing for Cherry Burst. And I thought, as soon as I pulled it out of the box, I looked at it and went, wow. You know, the flame maple top looks very nice. Now, whether or not that's actually a veneer, I don't know. I haven't pulled the pickups out yet to verify what kind of a cap is there, but it says AAA flame maple top. Mahogany body, and it doesn't say, but just judging by the weight, I'm guessing there's some weight relief there. There's probably some cavities in there somewhere. Let's see. We have a maple neck. It has got a scarf joint, and it looks the break angle looks to be roughly the same as I didn't check it, but it looks very similar to the Gibson. We have cream binding around the body and, of course, the neck. Palfaro fretboard. Now, for me, that's not really a plus. I've never been a fan. I just don't like the way Palfaro looks. But we have the trapezoid inlays. And as seems to be what Harley Benton is using, the hardware, the chrome hardware is DLX die-cast. A little more on that in a second. But yes, you have your standard Les Paul style stop bar tailpiece, Tunematic style bridge, and of course you have your 4 knob controls, 2-tone, 1 for each, pickup and 2 volume, which are push-pull because the pickups are indeed split, or split coil, or splittable. I should get that right. The pickups themselves are the Roswell LAF Alnico 5 pickups. Yes, that's right, the exact same pickups that were in the CST 24. And, well, they're not the exact same ones because those are actually in the other room. So these, right. So, yes, they are the same pickups, but I will tell you, I think I like them better. They seem to sound better in this guitar than they do in the other, and maybe that's just a product of, well, the difference between semi-hollow and a solid body guitar. I don't know, but I did think they sounded a little better. What else am I missing? Oh, yes. They are DLX Kluson style, kind of traditional looking tuners. I'll talk more about those later. The nut, it does not say. I do not know. I'm guessing I'm pretty sure this is not a graphite nut. I'm guessing plastic, but to me, it just, I think it's a plastic nut. But, and again, more on that later. So, that's basically what the guitar, I'm trying to think, have a, double action truss rod. Yeah, also wanted to point out, I did take the, I'll put a picture up. I did take the covers off the control cavities, and very surprised to note that the tone pots were indeed full-size pots, not the little cheapy dime-size ones. So don't believe they were CTS. They didn't say anything on them to indicate who made them, but they at least aren't the little cheapy mini pots. So, and of course the volume controls are both the push-pull variety, and standard three-way switch that feels good, no problems whatsoever there. So I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about on the specs. Now it's time to get into some of the pros and the cons. So let's talk about what I like about this guitar. And I know in the previous two Harley Benton videos that I've done, I know I at times will sound like a Harley Benton fanboy, but I'm just calling it as I see it, and when I find problems, I'll point them out. But first, I want to talk about what I like, and I think right up at the top of the list, it is a beautiful guitar. The flame maple, the flame is really nice and kind of luscious looking. I really like it. And again, I don't know if that is a veneer or not. I suspect it probably is for the kind of price, but it's certainly a very nice looking guitar, and the back as well, with a caveat, and I'll get to that later. I think I talked about it in the unboxing, as a matter of fact. I'll have to go back and look. But yes, it is a pretty guitar. Next up, I mentioned it before, but I think it bears mentioning it again. I like the fact that there are full-size tone pots in here. I always, cringe when I see those little tiny dime-size cheapy pots. So that was a nice surprise. I did not expect that. It certainly is better than what you will find on a lot of guitars in this price range. Next up, let's talk about the heel joint here. Very nice upper access to the fretboard. Now for me, I don't really live up in this real estate a whole lot. It's not that big of a deal for me, but for somebody who does, you're going to like this a whole lot better than you will your Gibson. And I said before, it's unfair to compare a Gibson Les Paul to this guitar, but this is one area where I think Harley Benton has Gibson beat. And I know that they do have some models with some easier access, cutaways and dips and whatever in the heel, but it's very comfortable up here, and so that's certainly a plus. The neck is very comfortable. It's a comfortable guitar to play. The fretwork is very decent, is more than decent. Other than up here, it's got just a little bit of fret sprout, and it's not awfully bad, but you can feel it. And that's okay. I haven't had the opportunity to pull out my StewMac fret and file in a while. And I keep hitting this microphone down here. You can't see it against the black shirt. That's kind of by design. But yeah, there's a lav mic here, and I keep hitting it. I am sorry about that. But yeah, it'll give me an opportunity to get a little practice in working on that, and I'll do that soon enough. Anything else I wanted to mention? Again, the Roswell LAF Alnico 5 pickups, the split or the double coils, I just think sound better in this guitar than they do in the CST 24 Deluxe PRS style guitar, and that might have something to do with the semi-hollow versus solid body, but double coil wise, they just sound a lot better in here. And so I say that's a plus. They sound actually pretty good, and I've not had any real complaints about them. And of course, lastly, but certainly not least, you can't talk about the pros without talking about the price. Because at under $200, I mean, I'll say this guitar feels, and to me at least, sounds better than my old Epiphone that I had. I think it was a 2003 model Epiphone Les Paul Pro. I forget exactly which model it was, but I think and it cost, I think I paid $500-600 for that guitar, maybe 500. I forget exactly how much, but at $200, certainly that is a pro for this guitar. Now, unfortunately, we have to get to the cons. If you watched my previous two videos on the Harley Bentons, the CLA 16S acoustic guitar and the CST 24 Deluxe PRS style semi-hollow, you might get the impression that I'm a bit of a Harley Benton fanboy. And the truth is, I had to really struggle to find things on those guitars that I didn't like or that I thought were wrong with them. And, you know, just not a whole lot to be grumpy about. And so I can see why you would think I'm a Harley Benton fanboy. Unfortunately, the dark storm clouds have started to form overhead. And this came along and kind of rained on my Harley Benton Parade. I'm not saying it's a bad guitar, but I am saying it has two pretty big problems that, as I said in the beginning, there were a couple of reasons why it took so long to make this video. And this would be the other reason. Specifically, the tuners and the nut. So let's talk about the tuners. Unlike the other two guitars, these are Kluson style traditional. This was the vintage model of the 450 plus. So it is meant to look like a vintage guitar, and so I can see why you would want Kluson style tuners on there. However, they're just not very good. It's very difficult to get the guitar in tune to begin with. You know, you start playing that little dance. You're below the note, you're above the note, you're below the note, you're above the note, you know. And it's just really hard to get set right in. But even after doing that, I found it did not stay in tune very long. So it first drew my attention to the tuners. Actually, it first drew my attention to the nut, but we'll get to that. But what I did notice is they weren't tightened down. This one here was just loose as it could be. So I had to go in and tighten up all the screws. I think only this one had been completely tightened down. Everything else was pretty loose. So that's a problem in production. Somebody wasn't having a good day that day, maybe, I don't know. However, that was kind of a glaring quality control issue. However, once tightening them down, I had hoped that, you know, it would fix the tuning problems. It did not, however. So then I turned my attention to the nut, and quite honestly, I was a bit appalled. The nut slots were very sloppy. They were rough. There was material still kind of sort of attached but hanging off. It just very messy, very sloppy. So I had no choice. I did not want to do any work on the guitars before reviewing them, but in order to review this guitar, in order to actually do any kind of a playing demo or sound samples, I had to do it. So I did minimally. I did as little as I could. I'll have to go back later and really pay some attention, but I did have to take the nut files to each of the slots and clean them up and get them, you know, just closer to where they should be. And then I went and put some graphite in there just to assist. So that did improve most of the tuning problems. However, it's still not great. And like I said, once it goes out of tune, once you're, say your G string is out of tune and you do that dance below, above, and it takes forever to kind of get there. So that was very disappointing in this guitar, and quite frankly, it does affect whether or not I would recommend this guitar. It was that bad. So there is that. Two major glaring things. The only other thing I want to mention as far as a con on the guitar, as beautiful as that finish is, there is, and I did, I believe, mention it in the unboxing, and you can only see it in the right light. It's not super, you know, in your face or anything, but there is a little circle right in about here that something, I don't know what happened in the finishing process, but you can see it. I might try to get a picture at the right angle, but again, it's not huge because first off, it's on the back. You're not going to see it normally, or at least nobody watching you play would see it, and also because it's not super noticeable. So there's that. Other than that, though, not a whole lot of other cons. I'm not a huge fan of the headstock shape. I like the shape of the headstock on the P90 Gold Top version, which will be the next video coming up in the Harley Benton series here. So I'm not as big of a fan of this particular, the way it, you know, swoops in, and it seems just a little longer than it should be. It might not. And and I did want to mention also on the tuners, these cheap plastic buttons here, they don't, I know they're supposed to have a vintage look, but they don't really. They just look cheap. I would recommend, you know, of course, Harley Benton, Toman, Harley Benton's not going to really listen to me, but I would recommend they try to find something better than these particular DLX Kluson style tuners. Just a huge disappointment. So that's it with the cons that I have on this guitar. Let's move on and listen just to some of the tones. I'll go through each of the settings, the pickup positions and coil split positions, really briefly, just to give you an idea. So what are my final thoughts on this guitar? Certainly not as favorable as the others so far. And I'm certainly hoping, well, I already know, but for this, let's just say I'm hoping that the last of the four, the Gold Top P90 version, will be better. And we'll see. You'll have to stick around, subscribe, and ring the bell so you get notified, and you'll know when it comes along. However, I have to say, though, overall, I was disappointed in this guitar, and yes, it is purely a tuner and nut thing. Harley Benton certainly needs to, I don't know, find a better option for this. And I'm willing to even accept when it comes to the nut that this is just, you know, an oddity, that they're not all like this. I would hope that not all of these are like this. But that said, this one was, and I can only go by it. So in the end, would I recommend this guitar? Yes and no. I would recommend a SC 450 Plus. I would not, however, recommend the vintage version like this. The Kluson tuners, Kluson style tuners, are just a deal breaker on that. If I just absolutely had to have it, I would just go ahead when I ordered the guitar and order better tuners for it. So why do that when you can just get the standard 450 Plus version with, I'm assuming, I'm pretty sure they have the same tuners that were on the CST 24 Deluxe, as well as the acoustic guitar, and I think you're going to have a much better experience. So like I said, I would stay away from the vintage 450, but other than that, though, it's a good guitar, and especially for the money, I just think you can't beat it. So, and I'll leave it off there. There's not much more to say about it, and I do appreciate you watching. Again, just a reminder, please like, comment, and share, and by all means, click the button below that subscribes you and ring the bell so you get notifications, and I will see you in the next video. Meanwhile, let's just be good. Let's just all be good.